What's going on, running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans? Welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing? I'm Alex Cuesta. My partner in crime over there is Dave Hyatt. What's up, brother?
What a NCAA championship meet that we had.
Whew.
That was
Both men's and women's.
I was going to start with the women.
Whew.
123-124. NC State pulls it out. Tui's, 6. She's a little off her game, but guts it out for a fifth place finish.
Yeah.
I mean, Parker Valby kind of breezes to a victory, which, everyone kind of thought. But, I mean, and on the men's side, that is NAU's second lowest score that they ever had, and they got absolutely trounced.
Yep.
OK State had 5 in the top 15. And how about a Harvard guy winning it all?
Let's go. Repping that Northeast. Listen, it might be Boston. I'm not a Boston fan, but it's Northeast, so we're cool with that.
Absolutely. And an amazing job covering the meet by ESPN. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Kyle Merber's fantastic. Kerry Tollefson and John Anderson did a great job too. And I just love how they have such accurate scoring, like every second it's adjusting. And I thought that it was absolutely wonderful coverage. We need more of that. Kudos to ESPN. Great job.
All I heard is we need more of Kyle Merber because honestly, Kyle's just his enthusiasm for the sport and wanting to cover it, and just the fact that he's like does not take himself too seriously, and like he adds a nice little flavor to it. So yeah, I thought they did a really nice job. Thank you, ESPN. And this kind of goes back to like the times where ESPN used to care about running and did nice jobs for track meets.
They have been doing a very good job lately for college sports. Last year, their coverage for the NCAA outdoor, bringing on RG3, that was great. I think there's something there where they just need to translate that more on the pro level and get them. If
there was ever a pro draft, though, I would never want them to cover it because all you hear is like, oh, this so-and-so, they lost their dog in 6th grade and had to overcome malaria. Like they just always go negative with all draft picks. So if there's ever a pro draft for track, no ESPN.
But I wonder who the Mel Kiper of that draft would be for.
It would be Jeff Benjamin, because Jeff knows everyone and everything. But
or Jim Lambert for anybody in the
Jim Lambert from Jersey. So, all right. So, before we get into this show this week, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5-star Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. Today is Monday, November 20th of 2023. It is episode number 65, and we are quickly approaching Turkey Day this Thursday, Thanksgiving. So, we'll close out. We'll wish everyone a happy Turkey Day. But yeah, eat safely, roll up on that tryptophan, pass out, have a nice nap after. But yeah, before we jump into this week's show, last week's show, we had someone who directly affects me in terms of awesomeness. We had Coach Billy Poole Harris, the freshly minted, he has an XC season under his belt now, but assistant coach for the Marist and women's cross country track and field over at my alma mater, Marist. Go back and give it a listen. Coach Poole Harris's enthusiasm for coaching overall is actually like refreshing, and he has a really great story coming from the inner city of Chicago and things like that. So go back, give that show a listen. It was fantastic. But this week we have a show of, I would say, very important, monumental importance for New Jersey track and field and XC, because this individual is an unsung hero. Now, we've done this a few times, Hyatt. We've had some of the unsung heroes come on with, Scott and Kyle Austin and what's his name? Bragansky with the track and stuff. So it's like we've had people that are behind.
We also had on John Davern, who does MileSplit for PA.
Yes, we had on John Davern. So we've had a lot of behind the scenes people. This individual is another one where if you're a coach in New Jersey, you rely on New Jersey MileSplit for a lot. It used to be for results. Now it's for heats. Now it's for so many things go on. And this individual, this individual we have on today is one of the people that make it happen there. He is Robert Kelly, the state editor for New Jersey MileSplit. What's going on, Robert?
Hey, doing pretty good. Yeah. And thank you for the intro. That makes you built me up a lot. But I appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job as well. I didn't know you had John on.
Yeah. Well, Davern's a Manchester kid. So we have that connection. And I coached. I didn't coach John, but I coached his older brother, Scott.
I coached John and Scott in middle school.
You did. So we've known, we're all good friends with the Daverns here. Scott was on the show too. No, his older brother was on the show because he works with USADA, and we talked about some USADA stuff. So it was, we have the whole entire connection here. But yeah, no, Davern's been on the show. Both of them, Davern plural, have been on. So Robert, I want to jump in with you right away. In terms of, you do your stuff in MileSplit. We're going to get to that, but I want to talk about you, Robert Kellert, the runner. When you were young, what was your spark? When did you, realize that running is something that you want to do, and running is something that, is you enjoy and is you're going to want to do basically for the rest of your life?
Well, I'll start off by saving anyone time. I'm not going to be on any like state title lists or anything like that, or even county title lists like someone here. But I guess that maybe in middle school, even because I joined track in middle school, and just when I was growing, having just like patella pains and stuff, I had to like strengthen my knee. So if there was like a walk around at gym, I was just running the whole time, and it was just, I don't think I fully understood it at the time, but it's something that I think a lot of us understand now, and especially as you like start to reach a point in life where you maybe don't get to run as much, is just how much it helps you clear your head and like keep you, just feeling good about things. So I think at the time I didn't fully understand that, but I realized I really liked it, and led me to joining the track team. And yeah, that's kind of where it really started. It's kind of funny too, because I think when I joined the middle school team, they put me with the sprints and hurdles, but I quickly switched over to distance running.
And it's like, this is one of the parts that I love. It's like finding about everybody's stories. Like some people are like, I was uber competitive in all these other sports and I found track. And then we have other stories, which is like, I kind of wanted to strengthen up, so I just ran all the time and it became awesome. Like that's but that's as good of a story as any, right? And especially going into being like a distance runner, because the beauty of being a distance runner is, yes, there are talented distance runners and we talk about them. We see them all the time, but you could become a very good distance runner and not have a boatload of talent, right? Like you can work your tail off and still get some really, really good times. Like, and that's always a great story. So, you ran in middle school, ran in high school. Did you do any college running at all too?
Yeah, I ran in high school. Eventually made the decision to switch over from football in the fall to cross country, which was really good because that helped me choose to do the cross country in college. And I'd say high school was more like I said, it was just, I enjoyed staying fit and the social side of it. And then college is where I really fell in love with it. And huge shout out to my college coach, Eric Galosi, at Albright. He really like kind of shaped a lot of our cross college experiences and taught me a lot more about the training side of it. And I actually fell in love with it there. And again, I'm not going to be winning a lot of races, but I was getting better. I was learning more about the training side and just how interesting that is, and pushing myself a lot harder.
So what are some of your, we like to go down memory lanes. What are some of your favorite memories as a runner, whether it's, a good race, a good relay, or just something awesome that went on, from middle school, high school, college? Give us some stories that maybe you haven't told in a few years.
I mean, if I think back to college running, just the epicness of just cross country starts and just being with your team at the line. And you've put so much work in, and sometimes it's freezing rain, and it's just like you're all just about to toe the line, and it's just so epic. It's awesome. It's a feeling you can't really describe or recreate. And once in a while, I have random flashbacks when we were like running around the crowd around Homedale trying to get point to point. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of this. But yeah, those moments are so fantastic, and I just love that. And then there's the low key moments, like just going on the long, slow Sundays on Mount Penn behind school and doing like a 16 miler, and just how awesome that makes you feel. And the great views you see off the cliff sides that like normally you don't see. Everyone's driving by it. No one's up there really, unless they're on a run or driving somewhere. And you see so many things that people just don't see around the world, whether it's parts of the forest, nice views, it's just that kind of stuff. I love and miss a lot of that.
See, yeah, you're like me, kind of like I was, I ran in high school. I had a very good teammates, one of them, Chris Greer, winning multiple needed champs. And I got so much joy out of watching my teammate do well. You also had a great teammate in high school, in Andrew Rodor. Like, how much excitement did you get watching him compete? Because I used to love, like, I used to go to every race, even if I wasn't running in it, just to go watch them run, which I thought was a wonderful experience in high school, being part of a team and cheering for your teammates. Like, did you kind of feel that same way?
Oh yeah, I mean, everyone kind of rallied around them, whether it was the boys or the girls side. But we had a few stars, and like everyone rallies around them. They go a little deeper into the season too, and it's just awesome to see them succeed. And those even if it's a program that hasn't really had success, like people like Andrew Brodeur can really turn around programs too. Like they help build that culture, and even if there's like someone like me or others that maybe aren't winning races, but they're just getting better and it's kind of changing the culture of the team, it just goes multiple years beyond that. I mean, Andrew Gels came right after Brodeur and had a great career, and it kind of jumpstarted a little era right there. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. You had Brian Decker on. He was actually coaching when I was in the last part of my high school. I coached Cuthbert just before him, but
wow. Yeah, Alan Cuthbert. I know him. Yep.
Cuthbert was awesome. He
used to coach over at Old Brick too.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
very nice guy.
And the thing is, Robert, like guys like you, like who are like, oh, I wasn't doing much, big things and this and like that. You were one of those guys that probably was like, not the first or second man, but third, fourth, fifth man, right? Like you were a varsity runner, but you weren't necessarily the guy out in front like a Brodeur or something. But we've talked about this on the show. In cross country, guys like you, I don't think you guys realize how important you are, because you're only as good. Like, what do you XC is top 7, right? You're only as good as your 7th, 6th, 5th runner, right? Because if they're not, how many times have we seen results in cross country races and it's like a really strong 1, 2, or 3, but they lose the meet because their 4 and 5 are so much deeper than everybody else, and you have a team with a little bit of a tighter pack that maybe finishes anywhere between like 7 and 25. So then they end up winning the race. So it's like, I mean, you shouldn't be selling yourself short, because obviously you were good enough to run in college, and that's nothing to scoff at, to go run over in college. So it's like, I almost hate hearing guys like that, where it's like, oh, it wasn't great, but you're an important part of a team. Like you're
huge. Yeah.
Even in college, like, especially if you can run a strong 8K, a strong 10K in collegiate XC, that's massive. And if you're a 5th guy and you're getting better every single week, that's the difference between bringing home a conference championship or another year of disappointment. You know what I mean? So it's like, do not sell yourself short, Robert. Don't do it.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, the high school, like I said, was definitely more on the benefits for me were definitely more on the social, just kind of staying fit. But at college, I definitely got on the competitive side and felt like I was really contributing during competitions, and won my first cross country race in college, and was definitely a leader on the team. So I appreciated it. And that's part of it's the magic cross country too. The whole, I mean, there's team in track and field, luckily at the high school level.
Yeah.
I think the team really is so important still at the track and field side, but on cross country, it's the best. That's the magic of it.
So you finished your college career. You said earlier that you learned so much about coaching and technique and training from your college coach. Was there any part of you that thought about getting into coaching, or did you kind of know what you wanted to do right out of college?
Oh yeah. I mean, right out of college, like a lot of people, there's that little portion of just trying to find the path and where things are going to lead. And sometimes it's not always exactly what you even studied for, but you get enough experience in or have enough savvy in. And in the meantime, while I was on that path, I actually was assistant coaching a little bit at Brook Memorial. So I did that for, I think, 2 years. And that was really fun. I missed that side of it. And that I can see why people get so into it. It was really rewarding, and I had a great group of young athletes to work with during there. And big shout out to Pat O'Donnell and Coach Chad Cutts at the time. I think they were doing a lot to kind of turn around Memorial's program at that time, and I'm very grateful that they gave me a shot to help them out to do it. And I told Pat that I'd have to mention his name if I ever wrote a memoir. So there you go.
So when you're a New Jersey MileSplit, and I want to get into that more in a little bit. But other times where like coaches come to talk to you and they like try to complain about something and you look at them because you have a little experience as assistant coach and it's like, coach, I know, I get it, but here's why I can't help you. Like, are you there sometimes you're like, I understand, but no, like, do you have these moments?
I mean, there's some moments where I'm just on overload. Like when I'm at a meet and I mean, I never diminish anyone coming up to complain about something because like we're all in it. Like you're at a meet, things are happening quick. If something's going wrong, like sometimes you're just trying to grasp at straws and get the answer you need or whatever. So I'm never gonna, diminish what they're coming to me for. And then sometimes though, I'm making sure a live stream's working. I'm directing a team of like 3 or 4 people, and I'm getting questions from the NJSA about their seeds, making sure things are correct. So there's a lot going on. I had Sean Eisenhower, I believe, was last year at the Meet of Champs, walking with me at the cross country meet, and we basically walked together from the mile down to the start. And by the time that we got there, I had fielded 10 questions, had 3 conversations, and all this stuff. And he's like, is it always like this? And I was like, yes, it's always like this.
Is it? Yes. See, you want to, so were the masks were probably like the greatest thing during COVID because you could just kind of try and hide.
Yeah.
No one knew who you were.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is that it's almost like people think that because you're a MileSplit that you are the actual meet director. Like, no, like I'm
that happens.
Like I'm in charge of getting everyone seated and all this stuff, but I'm not running the actual meet.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like once in a while, I think there was one of the short coaches. There was like a few years ago, I can't remember what year it was. There was like a tree that went down on the way there because there was a storm, and people were like messaging us like, "Why aren't you canceling this meet?" And I'm like, we don't run the meet. Just we're going there to cover it.
I can cancel my coverage, but that's not going to do anything for you, dude.
But it's okay. Like people don't always know the whole picture. Like some people probably assume we time meets too, but it's not us. Like there's a great New Jersey contingent of timers that I'm very grateful for here, and they do a great job with it too. So it's just people just don't know, but it's okay.
So let's get into MileSplit. So. We mentioned that you're a part of New Jersey MileSplit a dozen times now. How did you get started with MileSplit? You talked about wanting to coach and getting into some coaching. When did you either get approached by MileSplit or approach MileSplit? How did that start?
It's actually kind of tied into the coaching. When I was in college, I very gratefully got some guidance and worked with the sports information director there. And it's kind of the way I wanted to go. Some of the opportunities didn't really work out right out of college. So I was working in grocery, doing some freelance and digital media at the time and coaching. And then I went to some meets at the bubble and I was like looking around and just, I think the level of coverage and the types of coverage and also seeing coaches argue about handwritten seeds and the validity of them so they could get into the top seed or the top heat. And I was just like, what? I wonder if I could help this. So I made like a blog, Tour to Shore. Some people will recognize that.
Oh yeah. I remember. Yep. All of us, anyone that's involved in shore
knows what flash in the pan, but I did that for exactly a year. So I started that in December after like the first meet. I don't think I fully understood what I was getting into, but I started writing about the meets and posting results and trying to record some of the history of the shore area. Basically, it covered Ocean and Monmouth County.
Yep.
And then a year of doing that, and I mean, we were doing like meet of the week dual meet videos and all that stuff around that time. For that, I learned a lot, and Pat Montferrat, I believe, was the first one to reach out to me from NJ Runners at the time. That's what we were called. He reached out because he saw my blog and he was kind of trying to step away a little bit. So I got in touch through him with Don Rich, and they liked what I was doing with Tour to Shore. So exactly a year to the day almost, I signed my first, I guess you'd call it a contract with MileSplit. And 2012, December 2012 was when I really first started up.
That's awesome. That's really cool that, you were able to kind of get there on your own, right? Like a little non-traditional way of getting kind of into the sports informationist side, I guess, because like, you said things hadn't worked out, but you were grinding and it's like you found a niche and you filled it and it really worked out. Now, and you guys have been providing, and you've been individual New Jersey MileSplit and your team, some amazing coverage, things that, like I said, coaches rely on now. So how has it gone for you since 2012? Now we're in, 2023, and you're 11 years deep doing this. What has been the perks? What has been, the positive and the negative of what you've been doing over there at MileSplit for you personally?
Well, it's definitely been like a bit of a step ladder. I think the naivety of me as a young Robert back when I first was offered NJ MileSplit or NJ Runners at the time, was that I was like, okay, I made it, but I didn't. I think that after the first few months of work, I received like a check of like $200 or something.
Nice.
So I'm glad I didn't leave my other jobs. I was still working multiple jobs all the way up until, I'm trying to think of when I didn't have to do that anymore. I don't know if it was maybe 2015.
Wow.
Or so. So that was interesting, but I'm very, very appreciative of the New Jersey community that has kind of saw what we were trying to do, and the switch to subscription really helped us survive. And that, like, I wouldn't be talking to you right now if that wasn't a thing. So I'm very grateful for that side of it on that conversation. But it was a learning process. I'd say the benefit is what a lot of people see. Like, I get to go to cross country and track meets and talk to some of the superstars over the future of our sport. And then some of the negatives are what people don't always see. Like, this past weekend was my first actual weekend off since August.
Right.
So like, there's a lot of late nights. What's that?
And we ruined it by emailing you about this show.
No, you're good. I tried to, I don't very successfully or often successfully disconnect. And I was trying to disconnect this weekend. And I was like, oh no, they might've emailed me something. So I'm glad I went to check. But yeah, so there's just a lot of late nights, no weekends, and especially like someone right out of college, that leads to, goodbye social life and all that, like, immediately. But that is what it is. You get into the workforce and away you go. But it's been interesting. It's been fun. Learned a lot. Even what this is now is a lot different than when I first started. Let me tell you.
We'll go through that kind of a little bit of like what you grabbed, and now how you've molded it into what it's become. Yeah.
So it's like I said, the step ladder thing earlier. The first year I was very, very grateful for Pat Montferrat's help and Don Rich's help, just learning how to even enter stats on the site. That was like the first year of it. And yeah, that was literally the focus, just learning that and the importance of it. And like, I immediately was driven home to just the importance of that database. Now, with so much data, obviously there's like a percentage of error or whatever, but for the most part, I'm very proud of what I've done stats entry wise over the past decade or so. And that's like the foundation of it all. And then as I had kind of foreshadowed earlier, just looking at the entry side of things, there was no online entry at the time. So I asked if I could attend the NJSA meetings. I sat in the corner of what I felt like the kids table, and eventually they Don Danziger kind of let me present my little presentation about the registration. They gave it a shot, and away that went. And very grateful for the state that not only the NJSA took a chance on that, but all the meets around the state took the chance on that, because that benefits everybody. It allows us to do more for the state, and it also helps us in terms of just the data is cleaner. I know what teams are where. It helps with stats entry so much, having that kind of matchup. When I first started, they were still handing high-tech rosters around. Like, they weren't downloading anything. They were kind of emailing high-tech rosters.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Like, there'd be like two teams with their nicknames are the same, but they'd be in the results as the same team. Like, there'd be two Mustangs. So I'd have to match or try to figure out who the Mustangs were with like misspelled names and all that. Yeah.
That. Yeah.
But now it's all cleaner, and it's so much more straightforward now. And then from there, like after registration was kind of started off, which is still a beast today, it was just kind of, focusing on the video side. Like when I used to freelance before I got this, it was very video focused. Like, I do a lot of musical recitals and stuff, and like make DVDs for them. But getting into the editing side for cross country meets, I love doing that. commentary on the live broadcasts. I dork out over that. Like I love doing that. Sometimes I wish I could focus more on it, because like sometimes when I'm commentating, I'm like working the graphics and the camera and like everything at once. So it doesn't always come out 100% the most awesome commentary of the day, but try to do the best I can with that. I always wanted like the goal to be like the Netflix of New Jersey track and field. So we try to go as many meets as possible from there. But those are kind of like the step ladders. Oh, the last thing I was most proud of was the live results shift, because New Jersey was a little behind on that. There was a few timers who were doing it, but it was like the old high tech style, like very, very old looking live results. And now seeing so many kind of take the leap to MileSplit Live has been awesome. And I love seeing, sorry, I need a drink of water. I love seeing the, just like the instant results. And the first year that we had live results from every sectional location, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. You could just kind of sit and watch this hub of like all these things coming in. It's just, yeah, it's crazy that not too long ago we didn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, we also love it too. You know, like there's nothing better than not being able to be at a meet and being able to see, you know, who won like almost instantly. You know, it's like if you're at meets, you'll actually see coaches know the results before they're even posted anywhere, because they're on their phone. You know, like the kids like, hey, I'm here for my medal. We're like, we don't have the results yet, but it's already there on their phone. So that's cool. So how much? Because I remember when you guys first started, it was really just results driven. There wasn't really any articles or interviews in it. So like, how has that changed, and how much have you appreciated that the coaches and the athletes are so willing to make you a part of every meet?
Well, that's very much a nod to those who I had to learn around at the time when I first started. Obviously, like I said, I was so focused on just getting the stat sensor down when I first started that I was trying to learn other aspects of it, but I don't know if I would have been able to jump as quickly into the editorial side. And I am not a writer. I mean, I'll write articles, but like, I'm not like a trained journalist, like the Lamberts of the world or Paul Schwartz or whatever. But I was lucky enough to be able to go to meets and sit at a table with Paul Schwartz and Jim Lambert and Rich Bevensey and just kind of see what they do and how Lambert talks to athletes and the rapport he has with them, and just the respect level that Paul gives them when he's talking with them. And I had a lot of great individuals to learn off of in that regard. And I just feel very lucky at the time, because now if you look down at the table, there's not often very many people there, if there's even a table for media at a lot, especially at indoor meets. So I'm just very grateful for the fact that I came in at the right time, where I kind of got to learn off of some all-stars of track and field coverage.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because, you know, like you used to have to go to like the NJ.com for the interview side of it, and then go to NJ Runners for the results side. Now you can kind of get everything all in one spot, and it's great. I mean, you'll let interviews, previews. I mean, it's really, you're all in one place for NJ track and field and XC, and it's such a blessing that we have that now. You know, like even like you said, like you can go there, you can enter meets, you can, you know, get interviews. It encompasses everything all in one place. It's pretty amazing that they have this now. I'm so jealous.
It's awesome.
You know, because I ran back in the 90s where we just had like the Star Ledger, the Observer, and the Azure Park Press.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah, I was fortunate. We had Ed Scullion's timing that we had to wait for a few days later.
Yeah.
Like we had Scullion's.
But it was die-stat.
That was a great resource.
You know, but what thing is, Scullion's wasn't instant. Yeah, but that was like the general one you went to. And I remember you probably did the same thing, Robert. We would always go check the power rankings on Scull, like for like the times, because he always, the Scullion's always updated like the times and where you sat. And like it seemed like they had every single runner in New Jersey on those lists. It was actually really cool. But here you guys come along and NJ MileSplit. It's like Dave said, it's a gift for anyone that likes the sport of running, that likes to follow it. It makes it really, really easy to follow New Jersey track and field. Like, sometimes it's difficult. You have to go searching in all these places for results and things like that. But it's such a nice, neat hub that you guys have going on there. So how many moments have you had personally where you're kind of excited to be at a meet, a little bit of like geeking out as like a track nerds do to like meet some of these amazing runners. Then they come up to you and you introduce yourself and they're like, oh, MileSplit, I know you. Have you had any of those moments where they're just like, I know who you are. Our coach talks about you. We're always on your site. Like, have you had those moments at all?
I guess so. I'm more of, I mean, this is the most I've probably talked or spoke about my, my coverage at MileSplit. Like, I'm kind of more on the quiet side, kind of keep myself out of the limelight as much as possible outside of, when I can't with live streams and stuff. But yeah, it's cool. I really, when I started hearing, oh, the MileSplit guy, like a lot of times I don't know if they always know my name, but when they get excited to see MileSplit or something, it makes me feel good because I mean, that's the overall picture. When I even started my blog site, like I just wanted a place for the sport to go, whether it's a hub for information, which I love doing. As boring as it sounds, making information articles is one of my favorite pastimes now, and entering stats and like I love being useful for the sport. That gave so much to me to be able to do something like that for the sport and help it grow. So makes me happy.
Well, you deserve all the credit in the world. You really do, because you become such a fabric, whether you intended to be this much or not, but you are an absolute like pivotal part of New Jersey cross country track and field. And, it's the fact that you do try to stay behind the scenes and like, you're obviously super humble about the impact that you've had, but it's really cool. It's really cool to see what you've done. So I want to jump into something else, but Dave, do you have anything else to add real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to see, like, what was it like being able to get someone like Jim Lambert to become a part of your MileSplit family, and how much do you feel that he's added to the overall quality and the overall excitement over what you guys do?
Well, thank you for asking that, because I was trying to find a way to talk about it. I have so much respect for what Jim's done. And like I said before, just being able to learn off of him and the way that he was just so accepting of, I mean, he when people like that see that you're going to meets all the time, like almost as much as they are, and like you can tell when people are like really into the sport and stuff. So he kind of was open to whenever I had questions, we'd help each other at meets when we were trying to track down people, and like just the way that went, even though we were still kind of competitive with each other. I remember my wife, like when we first started out, we're like sleeping and working in one room. So it's, I'm like in the middle of the night, I'm like, gosh darn it, he beat me to it. Like I gotta go get this article. It's like 1 a.m. But like to eventually have that turn into us being teammates for it, it means so much. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have that. And yeah, he's like I said, I'm not like a reporter journalist side. Like I do make articles and all that, but that's not necessarily my favorite thing. So to have his knowledge base, I mean, sometimes I'm wondering if he has photographic memory, because he just throws facts out of nowhere. I laugh sometimes talking to him. I'm like, how?
Did you listen to the episode with him and Dave going back and forth about, you need to go back there if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
This man next to you is another New Jersey track and field encyclopedia. I just sat back and just watch these two go, and I talk just to hear these two going with, oh, this and that and this race and this exact meet and this. I was like, the hell? I just like watching people run fast. I can't remember exactly who did what, but it was awesome. It was an awesome episode.
but I mean, also, how you said, like you're more on maybe the quiet side and that sort of thing. Like Jim has such a sparkling, vivacious personality that, like I'm sure he's so happy that like you take care of the stuff that you do, and then he gets to focus so much on the interaction with the athletes and the historical parts and telling the actual story, that it's such a wonderful marriage. And I don't want to exclude your wife May, because she does a ton too, I'm sure. She's always.
My sister's a photographer. My wife does help with video. Okay. May Kellert is my sister. She goes to, I'm sorry. Yeah, she goes to meets a lot and does a great job. I'm very grateful to have her as well, because especially early on, when I first joined MileSplit, there wasn't a lot of budget going around. So
sure.
She put up with going to meets for not so much. And even though she wasn't like from the sport, she's done a lot out of her own goodwill too for the sport, and between her and Tom Smith and Dennis, Running Works Picks, aka South Jersey Pick Shooter. Some may recognize some of those aliases. Dennis volunteers his time as well to the site. So that's all our photographers are awesome. Not to get too sidetracked on that, but
that's great. Awesome. Giving kudos
give a shout out. And
so
when did the union with Flow Sports come? Because I remember there was nothing cool last year than being able to because I have the Flow Sports app, to be able to watch the outdoor New Jersey Meet of Champs on the Flow Sport app was just awesome. So when did that come about, and how much of a help have they been to help with what you guys do?
Oh, well, I mean, Flow, what was that? 2013. It was I was at the very end of the experience of being part of MileSplit before Flow took over, when Jason Byrne was still fully in charge of it and all of that, who's also just the pioneer himself. I don't know if he gets enough credit for what's MileSplit's become too. But the Flow coming in meant that we got more funding. Like I said, it took a while for me to really make this a full-time position, but to be able to not have to pay people with money that I raised through advertising or whatever on my own, to have budget to invest back into the sport over the past, I guess, decade now for 2023. I think it was 2013, if I remember correctly, that they took over. But yeah, they changed the game basically, and they helped us redesign the site. It looked very different when I first started. I was actually I worked with Ryan Fenton to create the current logo of MileSplit, which was interesting enough. So there's that little bit of a rebrand back then, and they kind of changed the game in terms of investing into the sport. They put a lot of funds into allowing us to grow and do what we do.
And and it's really one of the reasons why we started this show, right, was to talk to other track and field nerds and people that really love the sport, because for the longest time, it was only Dave and I texting each other about worlds and about big meets. And we started this initially to kind of just talk track, and then we wanted to go on the interview side. And the reason why was to talk to other people like you and all the people that work around you that have a passion for this sport, right? And it makes it, who would have thought that covering New Jersey running would be something that you'd be able to do full time? But there is a passion in Jersey for running, for track and field, for cross country, more than, other states have their passions, but I feel like Jersey is really big in it. We really love it. So it's just so cool to hear, just coming from where your roots were with New Jersey MileSplit, when it was I need help, and people believed in what you were doing, enjoyed what you were doing enough to hey, we'll help you out with pictures. My sister, I'll help you out doing this. It's awesome. I love what you guys do. And I think you're only going to expand and get bigger and better, which might be a nightmare for you considering all you already do. I think that might be that'll be great, but also terrible, because I'm already, doing every single weekend and shredding myself thin, doing 16-hour days. But, it's, I feel like it could only be great for the sport. So I want to.
Well, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So, how much interaction do you have with the people from MileSplit from other states, or do you just kind of focus on Jersey, or is it kind of like a big whole national family?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think a lot of people know. It's an interesting thing. Your coworkers, I see them maybe. Well, the Northeast guys, I see more often because we'll join forces at a regional. I usually run. Well, now not this year because I moved to Boston, but I usually run head of coverage at Foot Locker Northeast. So I'll see the PA state editor, who was Dan Beck, and now is John Davern. John's done a great job too. I know we were talking about him earlier. Yeah. I'm really not that I had anything to do with him doing. I'm proud of him and how he's really just kind of hit the ground running in PA, and from Jersey. It's cool to see. I think he's going to be a good talent moving into the future. And then Kyle Brazel out of New York is also someone that does a great job there. But yeah, we don't get to see each other very often. And anyone else throughout the country, we are in meetings. We meet weekly with our supervisors and stuff like that, and just go over coverage and budgeting and all of that. So we do kind of see each other, but in person, there's usually 1 or 2 trips down to Flow headquarters, whether in the summer or the winter. that we will kind of finally get to talk in person. So that's a little weird. You don't get like water cooler talk or anything other than in online meetings time to time. But that's interesting. I'm also like the Northeast pod manager. So working with New York and Maine, and like Derek out of Maine, and John in PA, and Kyle in New York has been awesome. They're really good at what they do.
Do you talk about like the similarities and like the differences in terms of like covering and like technology and different things that the states are doing when you get with each other to kind of like, see like what each other's challenges are? Like, how different is it? Because obviously like XC is XC, but when you're running out in Big Sky Country, it's different than running out in New Jersey as it is in like, down south. So what are the conversations like when you get with some of the other people around the nation?
Well, but MileSplit's awesome because, like I said, a lot of us kind of started when it's not like we got in this to make a lot of money. I mean, obviously I wouldn't be able to still be doing this if it didn't end up becoming a full-time position. I would have had to move on. But a lot of us got into this, and a lot of we have many full-time employees doing states, but there's still some smaller states that like they teach and coach, and then they do this like how I started. Basically. Yeah. So yeah, we always have minds that love the sport that are just kind of talking. And when we all get together and we all have ideas, that we get a lot of awesome stuff every time we do meet. But honestly, especially when I was learning early on, and I still do it, I recommend it if we have any other state editors listening to this, just going on other people's sites. Like I'll try to look at what articles are hopping, and I'll go and check out Texas MileSplit, and Will does a great job down there, and seeing what he's posting and what's hitting a lot of traffic down there. So you learn constantly on what other people are doing, and yeah, and that's like any job. If you stay stagnant, you're going to fall behind. So you got to look around and find out what's developing, what's improving, and learn off of it.
So when you bring in someone like a Jim Lambert, do you have the authority to hire him, or do you have to go ask someone who's above you to like hire people and to bring them on? Or like, since you run the New Jersey site, is that something that you have final say over?
Yeah. Well, it changes over the years, but we have like different levels of budgeting. Like he's basically a stipend position. So he's just kind of, part of the site. And then I have budget that I can, basically everyone else is more like a freelancer, where we figure out dates, they go to that meet, and we pay them and buy meat, kind of a thing. But so there's a lot of planning that comes along with that, and budget requests, and the systems to get them paid, and all of that. So that's a whole nother level of things that people don't see. It's not always just going to track meets. And a lot of times there's decisions on whether I can even afford to go to a track meet, like not afford price wise, but just time wise, because, just answering emails or figuring out all that stuff that won't get done if I'm going to a meet every single day, kind of a thing. So it's an interesting balance for sure. There's a lot that goes on with it, but recently we're doing a lot more to scale too. Like, I don't know if some people have seen on the site, we're kind of trying to shift a lot more of the support off of me. Like the last decade, it's grown so much that the customer support side is just too much. It's too much for one person. So we have a dedicated support team, which we're trying to, get people to send more requests to, rather than emailing me directly. Like, I'm going to focus.
Where could they send that to right now? What is that email? Where can they send questions to so they don't go to you?
The best way is the form, because you can kind of, on the bottom, there's the contact us. It doesn't have my email there anymore. But there's a customer support form where there's drop downs for like what your problem is, whether it's spilling or, meat entries or whatever. And there's people who are trained specifically in those things. And like, I have a lot of experience in online registration, but it's ever developing, and I would love to hand over the reins. I'm very proud of what I've done, but I'd love to hand over the reins to the support team. So if you are running into things with that, that's definitely the place to go.
Yeah, so please don't scour the internet for Robert's email. Stop emailing him late at night because you have a meet in the morning. Don't do it.
So here's a question. How many people, and I'm talking coaches, athletes think that you are part of the NJSIA, and when like they make a choice that it's your decision. Oh, like the meet was canceled. We don't have the week off now in spring track because MileSplit said so. Like
that happens a lot.
Like there is no.
I mean, it's true though.
Work together, but like you probably get a lot of a brunt when a choice is made that people might not agree with. They probably come talking to you when it's not your say.
Yeah, it happens. Like I was saying earlier, sometimes, I mean, if people don't know, like if they're new to the sport, it's okay. I mean, it is what it is. I think maybe sometimes because I know that the NJSA information is very helpful to have out there. So like I post as much as possible so I can see why people think we are part of the NJSA, but I'm really just trying to get the information. I'm trying to help them, trying to help the coaches, trying to help the community, just have this out there. It helps everybody. And sometimes it makes it maybe seem like we're making those decisions, but we're not. It was kind of funny. I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, something with the sectional, one of the sectionals, one of the North 2 maybe, had a thunderstorm and they had to like cancel the first day and combine it to the second day or something. And we got like spam tagged on Instagram by all the kids, like just asking us not to do it. And I was like, it's not our call. I'm so sorry.
And the fire last year, you remember that there was a fire. So the groups were all one day like, yes. Guys, everyone out there,
my goodness.
MileSplit does not have any say on when the meet is, where the meet is located.
That was a long day.
And little do the kids know that's also a nightmare for Robert as well. So not just you guys. He was set up for 2 days. Now he has to truncate everything into one as well. So, you know,
I think I was up over 24 hours that Saturday. I got there so early because we had a live stream. I got to get there like hours ahead of time to test. And then you got to pack up and leave. And then you get home and I call it the second shift with Lambert. We then you got to write the articles and whatever. Usually we end whenever we fall asleep in our chairs.
That sounds really healthy, guys.
Yes, it's very not healthy. Don't learn off that.
But I mean,
that's one of the bad habits I learned off of Lambert.
So many people think that's your call, and it's not. Like you were just there to provide the information and to help and to assist the NJSA with seating and covering the sport, but you have no say in what day the meets are. You know, it's just funny, like how many people actually associate you with that, and it's just not the case.
No, yeah, it is what it is. That comes with it, and
sure,
I'm kind of used to it at this point. It used to kind of get to me once in a while when people are like almost parading you online. I'm like, oh man, but now you just kind of get it, and they don't always know that there's a person behind the screen, kind of a thing. But
we got to make sure we lead the charge and troll the hell out of Robert for every meet now.
No.
Talking in Oval's account is going to lead that a charge in the most sarcastic way possible to hope that there's grip. So Robert will send us
MileSplit.
Just send us everything is going to be like, this is NJ MileSplit's fault. And it could be like a Texas meet gets canceled and I'm going to put it in there just because I think that would just be, Robert will send us an angry email with a shaking fist emoji. But
oh my goodness.
So Robert, I want to jump into this because this obviously has a lot to do with your domain. How has the changes and upgrades and advancements in technology really affected what you do at the website? Live and doing things there, like how difficult has it been to continue, because you've been doing this for 10 years. 10 years in tech is quite literally 3 lifetimes. So how has that happened, and how has it been, trying to change with it, because changing is expensive. You need budgets to, upgrade and do things like that. So what has that been like from your end?
Yeah, I'd say it's been interesting. Sometimes you're so focused on just like the task at hand, you don't almost view the overall picture. So I'm like having to just run back through and just think about really, I don't know, you're just always kind of in battle mode. But yeah, it's so like, I don't know. I mean, a big thing over the past 10 years has even just been working with product managers to get what the New Jersey track and field needs for online registration. Like a lot of features are actually straight from requests from what we needed for NJSA things or issues. So we've kind of fleshed out MileSplit registration in that regard for New Jersey, which was kind of always fun and interesting and tough. But that's kind of that. A lot of timers in New Jersey still kind of use high tech too. So that hasn't really changed too much. I'd say live results was another big project of just kind of pushing that, especially when I knew live results were advancing, but I didn't really have an option for them. And I was trying so hard to push that. And then luckily, some of the developers did an awesome job with MileSplit Live. So we had a product to give there. That was a big change. I'm trying to think otherwise. I mean, I'm still using some of the cameras that I had from my freelance days to record meets. Nice. Luckily, they survived all those rain meets, but I don't know. Otherwise, it's, just changing up your content style and what the focus is. Like Instagram and stuff I got to work on to get a little bit better with. Sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle, but social media is definitely a bigger thing that I got to pay more attention to on my end. But yeah,
I saw one picture of you that kind of sums up where we are, in this era of technology. It was at Homedale Park, and it was like there was no, like, you were like the only spot in like the middle of the field where you could actually get a signal.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, like it's like we become so dependent on internet and service that it's, like, you don't think about like, well, I get service, but there are still places out there where you might not get the best service. So it was just this funny picture of you in the middle of the field, just sitting there like, come on, like, this is the only place where I can get any service here.
Robert has to set up the table right in the middle of like the home stretch at Homedale. Kids, run around me if you want your results, damn it.
I was like, where everyone parks during Meet of Champs, in the middle of that field is basically where there's like a spot that I could find. But that has not changed over the past decade or so. It's just such a pain. And then that's when people are freaking out at you online. But luckily, I can't see any of that until I get home because you don't get the tweets.
That's great.
Yeah, that's always been an issue. But we we're always trying our hardest to get those results up for you.
And at least indoor, you have Wi-Fi, I would imagine, in almost every place.
You would hope. No, but a lot of the high schools are getting better. Live streaming at the high school level is definitely an interesting thing, and we haven't always had the most up-to-date equipment on our end, which is what it is. But luckily, recently we were able to upgrade, so hoping to have a little bit better streams moving forward. And because we even the bubble is not that great for internet, so streaming there is always. You're just trying your best to MacGyver together a stream, and it's pretty stressful, to be honest. Live streaming. So
everyone out there, if the stream stops for a second, it's okay. It will come back. They are doing everything that they can to bring you the best product that you can possibly get, but it's not.
Well, it isn't okay, but I'm doing my best.
If you see
it's
Robert
not always in your control, though. Like there are other things that are out there that can hinder it.
Also, if you see Robert at a meet and you have one of those jetpack, the hotspots or an unlimited hotspot, just give it to him. Because then you'll have a nice, easy stream and just let him have that. Or Elon Musk, where you at? What is that he does with like the Skylink, I think it is?
Yeah.
Just Elon, let him use a Skylink permanently for free so that we can always have good streams of races. I think that's fairly reasonable. So speaking of tech, when are you guys going to start getting drones in cross-country meets? To follow
actually, I don't. I haven't fully kept up to date on the NJSA stance on them. Like, I don't know if they're allowed at NJSA events, to be honest.
I mean,
think they get
why does NJSA hate cool things?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I can see some of the reason behind it. That in New Jersey, like for me to get a commercial flying license for a drone, like the amount of money and time and
hoops you'd have to jump through.
Yeah, to just get. Which also, I think drones are cool for like B-roll and stuff, but I don't know if personally I'd want to watch an entire race like that.
Especially at Homedale Park, like half of them, it's in the woods.
Yeah. So I think we've done a pretty good job at Homedale, like the Meet of Champions race video.
Yeah, great.
We had I think 90% of the course on camera.
Yeah, no,
it's excellent. Tough to do, man. That's not easy.
That was a big planning project, but I think that's my favorite thing to make every year.
Yeah, I mean, and this year, I you didn't just show them going tennis courts and then finish. You had them coming up that last hill just before they exit to go final field. So that was really cool. And I feel like every year you're expanding, and we're able to see more and more of the actual meet. So, and the time or like next video, like next stop or whatever next, and how far it's going to be to get back to the leaders.
Oh yeah, that animating the next view thing. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Like I made that clock and all of that, and that's probably my favorite project every year is the Meet of Champions cross country video. I love it.
So are you willing to take like young interns or anyone that wants to help out, that wants to like kind of, because I feel like obviously a challenge with the project like yours is you never have enough hands for yourself to do things and things like that. So with what you've built, would you be willing to take like, sports information college kids that just want to get their feet wet and learn things? Or is that still something right now that's like, I don't want to teach someone all this stuff on the fly? Like, where are you on that?
I mean, we're always looking for hands for sure. It's an interesting mix of, when the time is right in terms of budget and where people, a lot of times there's like clusters of people from the same area who do the same thing too. So it's not always like if people don't want to travel around the state, which I understand as a freelance position, it's tough. Luckily Tom's very open to that. Tom Smith is open to that. So I can move him between Central and South. My sister will like hop in the car and come with me to meets wherever I go. And Dennis has really done a great job in South Jersey. And Ruben up north too. And Tom Harkins joined our squad out of, the Somerset area recently. He's done a great job joining the team. But yeah, we're looking for help a lot of the times, especially on the video side. I think sometimes people don't realize that it's not that fun to record track meet. So like we'll get them for a meet and then they won't show up again. But yeah, so like if there's people that want to do that, especially in like the North Jersey area or even South Jersey, I know Sean Eisenhower and Giancarlo Vega out of Hannaffield and Timber Creek, now running at Rowan, have done a nice job helping us out recently there. But yeah, we're looking for hands. In terms of internships, I don't even know what goes into that, to be honest. Like if there's like an official way to do that, I'd be more than willing to show someone the ropes. I don't know if it particularly pertains to like if they're going into sports information directing, how much this pertains to that or not. But yeah,
you just shadow Robert for a meet and see if you actually want to enter into his world and see if that's something you want to do. But overall, what you're doing is awesome. We appreciate you coming on the show because like you said, you're more of a low key guy that doesn't even, when we asked, you kind of express like, hey, I kind of don't put myself out there, but we appreciate this because we love doing this type of stuff. I've said it a few times and I'll say it again. You're an important person. You're a part of the, running fabric in the state. And there is a bunch of you all around the country, and we would love to be able to talk to all of those individuals around the country that are important to their states and running because, you guys keep the wheels turning. You guys keep the kids run the races, the coaches go coach, but we need people to run the facilities. We need people to do timing. We need people to give results. We need people to video. Like, in order to make the sport grow, individuals like you who are willing to bust your ass for 3 years before it ever becomes full time is something that we need. So forever grateful for what you do, Robert.
It's almost like the umpire in sports. Like it's better off when you don't know who they are because that means that everything is running smoothly and that everything's going perfect and no one has any issues. And I would say that's probably the case most of the time. You're such an unsung hero for so many people. I mean, how great is it now that say, there's an athlete out there who has an elderly grandparent who doesn't want to go out there and sit outside all day. They can go online, watch their grandkids or their children or their nieces or nephews to actually compete in their house, whether it's on their computer, on their phone, or they stream it on their TV. I mean, just what you are doing to bring this sport more access is absolutely fantastic. And, there's not enough thank yous for what you and your whole crew have done to help all these families and these athletes and coaches. I mean, coaching then was, you had to enter this meet this way. Now it's all through MileSplit and it's so seamless and it's just such an amazing product. So thank you for all that.
Thank you. I think you guys are doing a great job too. And what you said about the grandparents too, that's actually, I've gotten an email like that before. That's like, it's saved in my favorites because it's just like, that's such a cool thing that people can, watch their family members do what they do when they normally wouldn't be able to. But like you were saying too, I wouldn't want to do this anywhere else. Like I love doing this for New Jersey. I think we have such an awesome thing here, and like you said, it's all like I'm just a part of the puzzle. The timers are awesome, and the meet directors. I mean, think about a lot of these people are doing like full-time jobs, and then the tiring task of running a meet. And sometimes I don't think people maybe fully appreciate that when you go to a meet and nothing goes wrong.
Yeah,
or if it goes quickly and you're not there forever, like they didn't overbook it or whatever.
Nothing's better than an on-time meet, man. Nothing is better than a meet that's on time.
Listen, and that's after they've been teaching all day and they have families at home. Yeah. And like, it's insane to me that some of the meet directors do what they do, or, anyone that takes over a coaching association, like,
and their spouses
Cal out of Tom on Timing. Yeah, I know. Right.
Scott Austin at the bubble, he's married to my cousin, and him and his brother Kyle, the amount of hours that they put in for those couple months is insane. I mean, they're at that place every single day, so like, that's why I kind of get frustrated when I talk to, people or coaches or people like, oh my God, like it's not easy. Like they have 2 kids and they have spouses and like they have full-time jobs where they teach that, like they are doing this as a service. Yes, they get paid for it, but not enough. If you break it down per hour, it's not that much money. They are doing it so that we can have these meets. I mean, when I was in high school, we didn't have the bubble, like it's just the amount of time that all of you guys put into this to make this sport better for the state is something that I feel is so, it's not that it's unappreciated. It's just like, it doesn't get noticed until, like you said, something does not go right. Then it's like, oh my God, there's all these issues. But
yeah, like a broadcast camera, you don't think about it unless they're like missing the view.
Right.
And that's why we're here, to make sure that, part of it, honestly, is to make sure that individuals like you kind of get your due, because you do deserve it. So if you're ever at a meet and it's blistering sun, pouring rain, whatever it is, snow on the ground, frost, and you see this guy wearing a MileSplit shirt, hat, whatever, trying to get something done, walk up to him and just say thank you. Go to a meet official, say thanks for being out here. I'm going to go run for 15 minutes, but you've been out here for 4 hours already. Like, we appreciate what you're doing. It would probably, I know Robert's not doing this. The officials aren't doing this. The timers aren't doing this for thank yous, but go out there and do it. Give him a thank you, him or her, because like I said, you guys, you make it work. So
especially officials.
Yeah, we need more officials too. Young people.
When they're there for a double meet, I mean, like state relays or sectionals during indoor at the bubble, like Kyle and his crew are there we're all there from like morning till night. Like the officials making their calls and officiating meets for that long is wild. Like huge shout out to them.
And they are not all spring chickens.
No,
that's a problem.
Yeah,
it's a problem that everyone's trying to figure out.
We need younger,
but we really appreciate everyone that's sticking with it, and they have so much experience. And like, if you talk to them, they have really interesting pasts, and they were athletes in the sport too, and coaches for a long time. And sometimes I don't think everyone knows all of their backstories.
Yeah.
But if you just go and talk to them and ask them, like, they're just really interesting people who know a lot about the sport. They're not just this official who's standing there with a yellow or red jacket on, which always reminds me of Star Trek. But
yes, it does.
You're right, though. Yeah, right. I mean, like, there are so many unsung heroes that make a meet possible. It's just absolutely astounding that everything.
I also remember when the bubble opened up too, because you mentioned that earlier. It was amazing because I think
we
the
had
Jersey
nothing
City
like
Armory
that.
was still maybe wooden when I was in high school.
I think they had just resurfaced it. Because we weren't going to meets there early on. I think our sophomore year is when like they just did the grand reopening and we went there and it was like There's no freaking room.
No, it was a mess. It was
leaning
a mess.
over the rails to try and watch a race.
And it was a long ride for anyone that wasn't north.
And there was no parking.
You're not running at Red Bank anymore, so anything.
We did though. We did run at Red Bank.
Yeah, that sucks. And I've run on tennis courts, or like indoor soccer field.
The Atlantic Club over there.
They would put a hose around for the track.
The first soft meet at the Atlantic Club. We probably both ran at it.
And then you walk into the bubble, and it's like it's so funny to think about because it felt like you were walking in ocean breeze almost. It was amazing. You walked in there, So they do a lot with what they have. It's not their fault. No one stepped up to make a huge.
Should have never put Ritako in jail. I don't care how much money he stole. He was giving millions to upgrade Tom's River stuff. Okay,
the bubble is still a great place, but like anything new becomes old quick because it's not banked. And yes, they should have designed it better with the long jump pits. That was not well thought out. But for what it is, I mean, just think that like you were able to have a state meet of champs meet in this state on a track where you could wear spikes. It was game changing.
Yep, we couldn't do that at Princeton. Princeton was no spikes. We were running in waffle razors. Yeah. So before we jump out of here, Robert, I'm going to ask you the same question we ask all of our guests jumping out here. And I think you might have an interesting perspective on this. So,
oh boy.
One of the reasons, again, we started this show was to try and, make the show more popular to casuals, right? Tell people stories, talk about the intricacies, a little bit of track and field. If you were to be able to have a magic wand and try to fix the things about this sport that would make it more popular, that would be able to get our pros paid properly so they can, be real professional athletes and live the way they should with the things that they do. What would you change about the sport to make it better in that way?
That's a complicated question.
Very
I mean, to be very honest with you, my focus is like all throughout the year. I'm so focused on the high school level. I can't say that I may be qualified to have this conversation in terms of
you were a runner and you were a collegiate athlete, so you definitely probably have had some thoughts about what's wrong with this sport. So
I mean, it's one of the things I think gets shut down all the time by people that I don't think should be shut down is the team aspect of professional sports. Like I watch New Jersey Devils. I care about that third liner because he has a New Jersey Devils shirt on, or sweater on. So I think that's a big aspect of it, which I don't know how you solve in terms of the sponsorship side of things, and like what teams agree to be on certain other, like who's going to fund these teams if they're already sponsored and all that. But yeah, I think that's a big aspect of it. The randomness of when they compete and like there's no real seat. Like I think some of the magic of high school running is the fact that we have a set season. Like when things are happening. You know who to look for in terms of uniforms and teams and history and stuff like that. And it just gets so, I don't know, lost as you move up the ranks. I think that from my, small view of it, that's part of the problem. I don't necessarily have the answer for it, but I would love, if we had you imagine in this amazing alternate universe, you turn on the TV and you're watching pro cross country teams running a professional championship on TV. You're wearing their singlets. I mean, how cool?
Yeah. Like
how cool would that be? Yeah. And like, that's something to build on. I don't know. Not everyone would look the same with the same Nike or the same New Balance singlet on. Yep. You can't tell who's who. And
they could have arbitrary numbers. Same sponsor, right? It's like
they could have professionally designed courses where they have like certain obstacles, like typical cross country obstacles, but built into the course. And you would set up your cameras everywhere, and we would be using New Jersey MileSplit cameras for the professional circuit over for the pro New Jersey team versus PA coming to visit in this dual meet.
That was actually one of my projects in college. I remember basically putting together like a fake cross country professional league when I was web designing.
Listen,
they put motocross. They put an entire motocross course in the tri-oval of a NASCAR track. Yep. Like, why can't you do something like that for cross country? And then you got a whole grandstand to watch it and stuff. Like, I don't know. I know why. It's money, but
of course it's money. Yeah.
Yeah,
money's in sponsors.
And there's always the issue of like the elite athletes obviously don't want to. I mean, if you're going to have a league, that means you're going to have a little bit more on your schedule, and that's going to lead to potential for injury or whatever. So they don't want to mess up their cycle for the, Olympics or World Championships or whatever. So there's tougher questions. Like I'm simplifying it with my dream of a team league, but yeah, yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the fastest guys out there. If you're watching a team of guys and you watch 3 guys running 28 mid 10K on a course and it's wide open, and like you said, there's fans there cheering them on and things like that, and you have dudes racing to the finish, it's exciting.
I think this is a whole different interesting conversation. I think there's different ways to watch the sport, and I think sometimes, like personally, obviously, like I don't want this to get misconstrued. Seeing a record is awesome. It's cool, but it's not all of it for me. Like I love good racing. Yes. I love good races, and I'd be just as impressed by seeing a quick athlete grinding out a season and carrying their team on their back for a professional cross country championship, for example. Yeah. As it's a different way of looking at the sport, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, I mean, listen, think about it. Like high school, college, it's all about teams, like team, and then you go pro, and there's like, I mean, there are training groups, but it's a very individualized sport. I think that the component of a team aspect would really be helpful, because like you said, like you would have a rooting interest, like like I wonder who's going to be the 5th man this week, or are they holding out their top guy? Because I just think that there's so many cool things that you could actually do with that. I mean, we've had so many wonderful things. We've had like put it on DraftKings, put it on FanDuel, betting, so many different things. But a lot of it does have to do with starting leagues here in our country, so that the people in our country can get to know these athletes and make the athletes a little more accountable with how much that they have to race, and say it like, because then you can promote it more, like, oh, we're going to have Sydney McLaughlin's going to run at this meet on this day, and then have her actually show up and actually run, so that the way fans can actually see these athletes more than once or twice here on U.S. soil.
And even if the athletes don't compete at every single meet, as long as there's like people carrying that torch for that team too. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily someone's running every single event. Who knows? Like whatever the season would look like and how often they'd run and whatever. But I like it. It's interesting.
And you know what? You said you weren't qualified to answer, and you gave one of the better answers we've heard. So look at that.
There you go.
There you go, Ryan.
My little make-believe world of professional team.
Unfortunately, it has to be, because that's just the world of the sport that we are in right now.
For now. But you know what, though? With every voice that we've have, with every single person giving a suggestion, like I said, I'm going to eventually go back and just cut a bunch of these suggestions, smash them together, and just sit there and start sending them out to big companies and be like, this is your world. These are some of your more important people in track and field. This is what they want. You will make a ton of money. One of you guys jump on it, and then give me and Dave 10%. And there we go. So,
before
Robert,
we cut out, if I give a little shout out real quick,
give as many shout outs as you need. Absolutely.
There was one particular name I didn't really get to mention too much during the whole story too. Like, I don't want to get upset either. Just Bill Bruno. Oh. He was my athletic director in high school, and then working with him with the NJSA was, I don't know, it was awesome. And I learned a lot from him, and I just want to give him a shout out.
We've mentioned Bill on the show many times. He was such an amazing ambassador for the sport. He did so many things. He brought the state level meets to a whole different level, and he is missed so much every single day. We had on Scott Clayton, who was one of his former athletes at Pinelands, who used to write for the Asbury Park Press. He was I remember racing against his teams when I was in high school. They were always tough, always ready to go. This is back when he was at Pinelands. He is such a wonderful soul, and he is missed greatly by the state and by the whole sport.
Someone that selfishly, I'm sad that we'll never get to interview on this show. Like, he's someone that would have been an incredible person to talk to, a giant in the sport of New Jersey, and, just giant overall. So, that's a great shout. And someone we have mentioned on the show, especially Dave many a times. And, but you know what though, Robert, it's people like you that knew him that are trying to continue to forward the sport in New Jersey and doing things that I know he would have been pumped about, that he would have been excited for, that he was excited for, working with you and with the way. So,
and very, very, very proud that he got to coach you and know you, and that you are keeping his legacy going by doing all the wonderful things that you're doing for the sport in this state. Because that was his extra kid was this sport in this state. It's something that he was in. He left being an AD, or maybe not left, but he took on also to run the NJSIA, which is not an easy task, and he took it to heights that I don't know that we've seen since. Because it's very hard to replace someone of.
There were hard shoes to fill.
Oh,
he was a very special individual. So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So once again, he is Robert Kellert. He is a state editor over at New Jersey MileSplit. Robert, what are the tags? Can people just go search NJ MileSplit on all socials, and the logo will pop up? They'll see it. Yeah.
We're on Twitter and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and whatnot, and you'll find us there. If you just Google NJ MileSplit, you'll find our site.
Awesome. Dave, do you have anything else to throw out there before we cut out here?
I just love the fact that we get to talk to so many different people, not just the athletes, but all the people who are doing all these things behind the scenes, whether it's running meets or installing tracks or providing wonderful content like NJ MileSplit does. It's just I love every single Monday that we get to talk to so many wonderful people, not just in this state, but nationally, to help try to bring more people this wonderful sport that we all love. So Robert, thank you so much. I'm so pumped that you said that you would come on, and I'm sure that we asked you at the absolute worst time, like, hey, you want to come on in October? Stupid on my part for even asking. I'm like, duh. And then you're like, can we wait till November? I'm like, absolutely. But thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. And I really hope that people hear this and they have a whole new perspective of what it is that you do at MileSplit and your whole crew, and just to appreciate what we have, because I don't know what we would do if we didn't have what you guys do. So thank you.
Well, I've really been enjoying. I haven't been able to listen to every episode, but I really enjoy. I mean, Brian Decker, he was my coach when I was in high school for a little bit, and working with him with the shore coaches and stuff. It was so cool just hearing some of more of his background. Like I didn't know a lot of that from his running career and so on. So that was cool, and I love that you got to talk to Scott and Kyle Austin out of the bubble and what they do with what they got at there, and and listening to Jim too. I mean, that must have been a roller coaster conversation over there.
We talked for another 2 hours after too.
I could still be on with Jim now, and that was like 2 months ago.
I think I was like,
try leaving a track meet when you're covering a track meet with him.
I was like, guys, it's like midnight. Like I
gotta be up for work in the morning, guys. I gotta go. But yeah, so I just gotta say thank you for coming on, Robert. Everything.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Thanks for coming on. The important things that you do. New Jersey MileSplit's awesome. And,
awesome.
I just want to give a shout out to the MileSplit network. It's such a rare thing to have a network like this that covers high school track and field, specifically all around the country. So wherever you are, just go search your abbreviation for your state, MileSplit, and there's somebody working there. I know Robert mentioned they all get together. But it's a lot of work to do what they do. They're not, MileSplit is national, but they're not like a major, like they can't hire 1,000, 2,000 people to really do what they do. So it takes dedicated people like Robert. So if you're listening to this from another state, I know I'm in New York, figure out who it is and understand that they're working their tail off. It might not, and then don't, Robert goes on and compares, New Jersey's website to other states to try and like see where he could be better, what's going on, what they're doing or this and that. But don't do that. Don't go to another state and see what they're doing and think your state sucks, because they're working their ass off. They're not getting paid a ton. And
some people are on their journey.
Yeah. So, just give credit, especially in the sport of track and field. You got to love it in order to be involved on that side, because you're not getting rich. So they might get paid enough to live, but they're not sitting there and they're not going to go and buy a penthouse anywhere. You know what I mean? So, and they're dedicating a lot of time, taking a lot of time away from their families in order to do what they do. So, I hope what we do here is showing a little appreciation for what they do, giving everyone a little more information about what they do. And we love it. And with that, if you like what you heard, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go look for us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. We have another great show coming up next week. We shall be back then. Everybody, thanks for listening. So long.